That's kind of everyone's first question when they like, okay, conference, fun conference, but who's going to be there? Who's going to be speaking?
This is sort of an early lineup. We're 3 months out. We're actually, pretty much every day we're recruiting. We're talking to speaking candidates. This is one of the best parts of the job is these are folks that we want to hear from, and then getting them, and then having them kind of agree to come out. Some are going to be leading workshops. Some are going to be taking the stage for us. Some are going to be doing both. Some have companies that are sponsoring the events as well. But let's talk about a few of these. So Linus Ekenstam, last I checked, Linus's account was hacked on X. I think that was yesterday. Then this morning he got it back, and the poor guy. I read a couple of his posts today. He's been through a little bit of an ordeal. But assuming Linus isn't like completely thrown off the grid, Linus Ekenstam will be there. He was with us last year, one of the original sort of, I would say, content educators and creators that has been talking about AI since the get-go. He's got a great following on X, and really has got a great perspective on what's happening in the AI scene. And I had quite a few people say that his presentation last year was one of the best ones they'd heard, just sort of framing up what's going on. And, it's going to feel like we're going to be like 12 months offset from last year, a little bit more than that. It's going to feel like a decade has gone by, and we're super excited to get Linus back and hear what he's got going. Nathan Labenz is a guy that, I've been following for quite a while. He was one of the original red teamers of ChatGPT at OpenAI, and he also founded a company called Waymark. He's got a popular podcast called The Cognitive Revolution that's really good. People should check that out. But Nathan's planning to make an appearance and take the stage. One of the things Nathan's really good at talking about is the rise of agents, AI agents, and what comes next, and automation. I've listened to some of his talks before, and really there's not one that I can walk away from that I haven't learned something or a new way of thinking about things. So super excited to have Nathan take the stage for us this year, possibly even convince him to run a workshop or a master class too. And then Bindu Reddy, of course. Bindu was an OG person that I got to meet in the AI scene. Bindu runs a company called Abacus.AI, and it's really designed for enterprises, but they sort of have different tiers of access. They have something called Chat LLM, which is something that for $10 a month, anybody can have access to. You can play with all the models. They basically vet every model that comes to market and usually have the newest models up within hours of them coming out. So when DeepSeek came out with its R1 models, Bindu's out there. Bindu has a huge following online too, and comes out with some really great takes on what's happening with the foundation labs and everything else. And every time she takes the stage, people are kind of leaning in to hear what she's going to say. So great to have Abacus back. They're probably going to be talking, Bindu's probably going to be addressing the agents of change, sort of this, how do you unleash AI in your business, your enterprise, workflows, how do you automate things? Well, we're super excited. Groq is back, so we're super excited to have, and this is not Elon's Groq, this is the OG Groq, Groq with a Q, guys. Groq is building they call it language processing unit. So this is like a comparable to what NVIDIA does. These are basically servers specialized in inference runtime compute. So basically when you prompt an AI and what you get back, they're building one of the fastest platforms. So they're all about speed, and not just speed in what they can do. They've targeted developers building AI apps and businesses that are looking to scale workloads, but they've also grown a community. They're going to be probably closing in on 1 million people that have signed up for Groq to build. And it's just incredible. In fact, some of our workflows that we're using behind the scenes to help get the word out about Imagine AI Live are running on Groq right now too. So super excited.
Mark Heaps was an OG too. He was there at our first event, and a very inspiring guy. And he's their chief evangelicist.
He's probably got the best job in the world. He gets out there and gets to talk about stuff he's passionate about. And that came through last year when he told some stories about, when he realized how valuable AI was, it just at a personal level. He told a story about his son and needing emergency aid on a remote beach. I think it was in Mexico or someplace. And really a story that resonated with a lot of people. But Mark's fantastic. They're bringing folks in. They're going to be setting up kind of an exhibit where people can interact with Groq. in our AI arena, which is promises to be super cool. And then this guy right to his right, I've been tracking Dan Siroker now for better part of a year and a half, maybe going on 2 years. Dan is the founder, or co-founder and CEO of a company called Limitless AI. And I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm wearing something called a Limitless pendant. And mine just arrived. So I'm actually going to hook it up later. But one of the coolest things, or the coolest unlocks that I found professionally with AI that I think a lot of people are finding, is that you can suddenly record everything, much like a podcast, but meetings. And there's a lot of companies out there that offer tools to transcribe your meetings now. But Dan and company are going into the wearables market, where you can literally, there's so many times where you're in, I talk to a lot of executives that have manufacturing operations, and they're out on the plant floor and they're talking to an expert, or maybe they're at a conference and they went out for a cup of coffee. They just want to, let's record these ideas right now and let's remember them. And so we're asking Dan to take the stage, and he's agreed to take the stage this year to talk about enterprise memory. How do you capture enterprise memory, curate it, turning it into a competitive weapon? And I'm super excited to welcome Dan, and perfect timing too, because their new pendant is hitting the market, and we may have a little treat in store for people that are coming to the conference as well.
It's great hearing you break these speakers down.
Andy Sack and Adam Brotman are both coming back. These two gentlemen are writing a book about AI and an AI journey. Both of these folks, Andy worked at Microsoft, among many other things. Adam was the former chief digital officer at Starbucks. And they're now basically have created an AI agency or firm that's helping other people find their way, businesses and brands find their way with AI, called Form 3. But they're also writing a book in real time using AI, chapter by chapter, of the journey of a business into AI. They tell us that the book might be ready to go by the time we're there. So there may be a little book signing. In fact, the title of the book, I think you can even pre-order this on Amazon, but it's called AI First, the playbook for future-proof business and brand. So super excited to have these guys come back, update us on the journey. Oh boy, this gets even better. So these three folks here, let's start with Moritz. Moritz Kremb was probably one of the first influencers and AI educators that I discovered on X, on Twitter. And early on, when ChatGPT was taking off, Moritz is out of Germany. And he built something called the Prompt Warrior, which had a lot of, some of his prompt techniques, prompt craft, prompt artistry is some of the best you'll find. And he's got a huge community out there of people that follow him around this. But more recently, Moritz has gotten bitten by the vibe coding bug, and which is only natural. And so he's gone into this sort of new realm of AI app building, using AIs, using no-code tools, basically building AI apps with agents like Cursor, like Replit. Some of he's probably used all of them now. Bolt is another one, Lovable, Windsurfer. There's quite a few of these out there. And this crop of tools really only cropped it into existence last summer. And they were kind of wobbly at first, but they're amazing now. And so one of the things Moritz is building is this thing called Copy Coder AI, which is a way to essentially, and he'll have to explain it, but it's a tool for people that are into creating their own apps, whether it's for business or personal use, or they want to become a SaaS mega millionaire, whatever the reason is. Moritz is developing sort of a way to approach the prompting and the execution of these in all of these tools called Copy Coder. And I'm actually just beginning to get my hands on it to make use of it for some of the things that we're putting together. So super excited to have Moritz there. Alicia Bate. Alicia is somebody that if there was a whisperer, a leadership whisperer of what the future is going to look like with AI and leadership and teams, I could not think of a better person than Alicia. She came on stage for us in New York, and I think people were like, whoa, it's almost like going to Sedona and having an experience, with what this is going to look like. How do we lead? How do we work? She works with a lot of mega corporations and big brands and helping them craft their leadership strategies. So she's going to come back, take the stage. Then we've got Michael Moe. Michael is a head of Global Silicon Valley, GSV, one of the most successful venture guys out there. GSV Ventures, and he spoke for us last year. Really gave a great perspective. Also, the way the markets think, the way that Silicon Valley and investors think about what's happening with the AI scene and the companies. But Michael's done great, and they've done a fantastic job building another conference that's become quite successful for the ed tech industry, the education market, with Arizona State University that's been running, I think it's at least 10 years now. But these guys are great. So having Michael back, John Rossman, as I mentioned, is going to take the stage with Big Bet Leadership. And there's a new chapter unfolding, which is the Big Bet AI playbook. And John's going to be running a workshop on that, in addition to giving sort of an updated keynote on how this works. Any enterprise leader who's looking, whether you're a small entrepreneur or a big enterprise, looking to place bets on AI, this method that John's written about and studied is fantastic. And I could go on. Kyle Corbett is a guy who runs a company called OpenPipe. Kyle used to work for Sam Altman, and he is now building, he and his team are building a company that allows you to fine tune your LLMs. As enterprises and businesses are getting more and more into, okay, we like what we're doing, we want to put a workflow together on AI, but the off-the-shelf AI, even with the retrieval augmented generate, the RAG techniques, maybe it's not getting us what we want, or we just don't want to put it out into the public model providers for maybe sensitivity reasons. You can now train your own models and fine tune them. And so this is basically a talk that's probably going to be around kind of owning your enterprise AI destiny. So fine tuning for security, speed, and savings. So it's really a way to go about this, and what they're building is a platform to allow businesses and enterprises to do this fast and to really kind of own their destiny. I get this question all the time, Chris, when I'm talking to leaders about AI, is what happens to my data when I put it out, and we have a lot of counterparty trust, obviously, with Anthropic and OpenAI and the big providers. But this is a way to kind of sort of roll your own, if you will. And so this sort of, where do you fine tune versus where do you, in context, train a model to do the thing you want via the prompt? Where do you retrieval augment, the model? Those are some of the questions that Kyle's going to address. Really super excited to have these guys there. And of course, Alex Northstar. Alex is probably one of my favorite AI educators, travels the globe, talks to people, really is very practical. Alex is talking about just the foundational skills that you need, how to build automations, workflows to enrich your life, to get your time back and your day back. Alex has been a hit. Every time we featured Alex, and we just love his style. He truly is somebody special, and he's coming back. We don't know what he's going to talk about. It's probably going to have something to do with upskilling your productivity and just becoming better. There's so much going on now with the automations, the agents, and the workflows. Then you got a few guys like us that'll be there. Of course, we'll be mixing it up with everybody. Marco, I'm not even going to try to pronounce Marco's last name. Hylckama Vlieg. Let's go with that. Marco is one of the first guys, another first guy connected with OnX, really into the AI and design scene, the video generation, putting, art and music and video together. Obviously, he works for a large company in his daytime, but he really creates, and he's taught so many people on techniques. Super excited to have Marco back. He's a great friend. Of course, you'll be there. Chris, there's nobody to interview people, and tell us what you're going to do.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, last time I am a teacher by training, and I'm used to speaking in front of people. And you kind of threw me on stage at to start day 2 last year. But I loved the opportunity, and I talked about content creation and short form video and kind of my journey to Imagine AI Live. And this year, I'm going to be talking about cloning your voice with AI and the unlock that gives you. And so I cloned my AI voice, and now I'm creating content left and right. You basically can have an idea for a piece of content. AI could write the script for you based off that idea, and then you plug it into your AI voice, and then you put some imagery behind it, and you've got a video. And it's incredible. It's a true unlock, and I'm going to be talking about that.
I love it. And I talk to a lot of creators, and there's stuff that makes your brain hurt. The creative process is fun when you get the final product, but it's all those steps that kind of make your brain hurt in between.
So many steps.
Copying, the pasting, the clipping, and the this and the that. And I think that this is huge, because if anybody should be using AI to create content, I think Imagine AI should be using AI,
Yeah.
as we've said. So super excited to hear what you've learned in the last, literally like it feels like every month is a year now. So in the last 10 years since we were together, what have you learned?
Yeah.
And already seeing some of it come out, which is great. Yeah, we've got guys like Dustin Hollywood is coming. Dustin was actually attended last year, but is an independent artist, filmmaker. He has a company called Mammoth Films, and he works in Hollywood on some of the most high-end sort of video, sort of creative projects you can imagine. Super interesting guy. We're going to get him on stage, have him probably lead a workshop as well. And then, right next to him, you got Jerrod Lew. Jerrod's a guy that, by day, he's like a little bit of a Clark Kent guy. By day, he's a corporate guy with a large multinational, I think it's Philip Morris International, where he is in this sort of the social media sort of realm of them, based in New York. But by night, and maybe a little bit by twilight, he's a huge AI educator, content creator. In fact, he recently got his dream job inside the company to help them with the sort of enterprise level AI stuff that they're on at Philip Morris. So he'll talk about, what he's going to talk about is more sort of the journey into AI, applying it from a business lens, applying it from a personal creative lens. Super excited to have Jerrod. He's a great guy. He was with us in New York. First time we're going to get him teaching something with us as well. And there's Adam. He's the other better half of Andy Sack that I mentioned earlier, Adam Brotman. Jessa is AI versus AI. She runs a video channel. We brought her out. I discovered her because of her videos where she was teaching some very deep techniques last year on AI prompt engineering, just some of the tool use, some of the automation stuff. Jessa's essentially where she's come and what she's doing. She's going to be holding court on some of the automation platforms like N8N, Gumloop, others that are out there that are really these new AI native ways to automate your flow, automate your production flow of things in your life and your business. I had a long conversation. If my voice is a little bit rough tonight, Jess and I were on a call for about an hour and a half, showing each other things that we've been working on. Super excited to have her back. The title is Learn to Automate Just About Anything with Jessa. So if you're interested in diving into automation and don't want to just watch a bunch of YouTube videos, you can learn from one of the best out there. But she also is an ambassador for N8N. She's an ambassador for Microsoft now. So she's very schooled in some of the tools that enterprises use.
I appreciate her like encouraging women to embrace AI and, women in tech scene, but the women in AI scene, and that, it can feel a little intimidating, and there's a bunch of guys around. 50% of the world will be benefiting from AI too, women and men. So
Jessa has run circles around some of the folks I know that, call themselves AI people. So super excited to have her back. She's totally like, and she's got a great personality, and her voice, I should mention her voice. She has a, what do you call it? Like a Hollywood voice, a voice of God kind of thing. And she lends her voice to us. So she's the voice that, of course, it's AI generated now, but it's trained on her voice that announces people taking the stage for us. And speaking of taking the stage, we got this interesting guy here named Cody Schneider. If anybody's out there who's been listening to startup ideas, if you follow Greg Eisenberg's podcast, Startup Ideas Podcast, which was one of my favorites, you've probably heard of Cody Schneider. In fact, he has his own podcast too. Cody is a digital marketing guru. I don't even know how to describe this guy. He's always hopped up on caffeine and beer, but man, he's got energy and he's got knowledge. And Cody's been working with us a little bit, but he's going to share some secrets as something he calls digital gravity that I think is a message everybody should hear if they're in business. And it's how you leverage this idea of digital gravity, which is more accessible than ever now with AI power in getting your brand out, your word out about your product. Doesn't matter if you're B2C or B2B. Cody's got something for everybody. This guy could take the stage probably for like 4 hours and people would still be, not even going for a bathroom break. So super excited to get Cody out. He's trying to get the weekend free because his girlfriend's birthday, but we're going to work that out. But Cody's coming out. This guy next to him, Hendo was the guy who attended last year out of the UK. And he's a creative director but he's also an AI first creative director for agencies. So he's worked with major brands, Nokia, Google, Deloitte. The guy's been in agencies, for quite a long time, and just is really leaning into AI, and is going to talk about how he's working with brands and agencies now on bringing some of the tooling that we're using with AI for image, video generation, music, etc., to kind of rewiring things, rewiring creativity is sort of the talk track he's got. Man, I could keep going. Let's see what else we got. We're not even done because we're still recruiting speakers. We've got Sheryl Savage. Sheryl was a former Cisco legal strategist, in-house legal counsel for Cisco systems, and is actually someone who's like, not only from a legal perspective, she works for an AI startup now called Positron AI, but she has a lot of experience. She did a stint at Groq, the Groq with a Q, and is really kind of at the forefront of legal innovation as it comes to AI. She's going to take the stage and talk a little bit, and also lead a kind of a masterclass on navigating the AI maze, legal frameworks from, there's so many people that are concerned about legal issues with AI, copyright infringement, trouble that they can get in. I hear it every day, stipulations in contracts that you cannot use AI to process data. There's all kinds of things to navigate. Cheryl's going to talk about a new framework on how to approach this. And so anybody who's got that kind of job or issue, wants to hear from somebody kind of on the cutting edge who lives in this industry, Cheryl's going to be the one. I'm going to have to ask you to pronounce Seungwoo's name.
Seungwoo Son.
Seungwoo Son. He is the VP of Applied AI at a company called Wealth.com. These guys are basically building think of it as like the whole financial industry, sort of, they're building tools for financial analysis for the way I would describe it, and he'll have to explain this a little more when he takes the stage for us, is kind of your Edward Joneses, your brokerage analysts, that, the folks that help you plan your financial life, financial planners, etc. And Wealth.com is basically a company that is now, they just received a big round of funding. These guys are kind of going after it at scale to help make financial planning and financial analysis easier. I had a great call with him the other day. He's ex-Microsoft, was in the labs with Microsoft as an applied AI scientist. Super excited to get him on stage and hear what he's got to say. Oh man, Steve Manuel. Every now and then you get DM'd by somebody, and Steve is a guy, I think I'd seen some of his X posts, and he'd seen a few of mine, and he just cold DM'd me on X and said something like, "Dude, I have something you need to hear about." And I said, "Okay, you caught my attention. What is it?" So a lot of people that are building. So Steve is a, hardcore engineer, leader. He's a co-founder of his company, Dylibso. And they're based out in California now. He's done time with, his resume looks like a who's who of the tech world. But Steve reached out to me, and there's a new thing called MCP, which you might have heard about. There's so many announcements. It's hard for everybody to keep track of all this stuff, but Anthropic, I think it was in the early fall, I forget exactly when they dropped this idea. They're building a framework, an open source sort of concept called Model Context Protocol, which is a way for AI models to have tools. So now you think about an AI model becoming an agent, it's going to need tools. It's going to need to go check your Gmail, going to need to send an email. It's going to basically need to launch APIs and into other services. And so MCP, this Model Context Protocol, is a way to do this in a serverless fashion. And this is right up Steve's wheelhouse. They've created something called MCP Run, which is a platform that simplifies the deployment and management of AI agents. He gave me a preview of this thing. He showed me a demo this week, and I literally like, oh crap. This is like something between, okay, here's the title of his talk: Build an AI agent faster than you can write an email, because that's how fast he did it in front of me. So this is something that needs to be seen. It's fantastic. And again, it's coming from a company that's sort of hardcore guys steeped in experience in sort of sort of serverless technologies. But what he's going to talk to you about is this, not so much from a dev level, although you can go nerd out on this stuff. He's going to talk to it from a business level. Why, as a business person, does this matter to you? And super excited to get Steve on stage. And by the way, Chris, you'll need to give, as you will for all these folks you haven't talked to yet, cue them up for some interviews on the pod. And I'm almost done.
Lewis here, next person I have talked with.
You have talked to Lewis. I think the pod is, I don't know if the episode's dropped yet, but it's going to drop soon. Louis Rosenberg. And I had I had the good fortune to speak with him this week. Unanimous AI is what he's building. And Lewis's resume, I mean, I had to use AI just to collapse his resume so you can synthesize it. The guy's done everything in his career. He's been in virtual VR before it was even a thing. Stanford, he's done everything. Air Force, NASA, and you could probably tell a better story about Lewis than me. But
yeah. Let me try it. He's building artificial swarm intelligence. The maximum group for having a conversation is about 5 to 7 people, like to have a productive conversation and like a discussion and agree upon things, debate. Once you get to 10, 20 people, it just becomes a presentation and no real like decision or consensus making is happening. And so what artificial swarm intelligence does is he takes large groups of people that are trying to decide on something, and he puts them into 5 groups of 5 people. Each group has an AI agent, an AI that's listening to the conversation, updating all the other groups in real time of the consensus and the like pros and cons for a debate, and then prompting people to like think about those things. So like a large group can make the best decision and the best answer to a problem. And so he's using this with, large bodies of scientists. He predicted the Super Bowl this last year.
Yeah,
everyone was saying that the Chiefs were going to win, and from using this artificial swarm intelligence, like, no, actually the Philadelphia Eagles have a good chance of winning, a better chance of winning here.
It really is. What resonated with me when he told the story is that human intelligence is still vitally important, even with the almost ubiquitous sort of landscape of PhD level AI models that are beck and call. And the way that humans think is still something. You get intelligence from the hive mind, if you will. And we're going to actually do some cool things to help with the Magi Lab. We're going to probably playground his technology a little bit at our conference, which is really super exciting. We talked about that yesterday. He's going to be talking, the best way I can describe it is humanity amplified. So AI is your partner, not your master. So a lot of people have this fear, and I hear it a lot. AI is going to take all our jobs. It's going to what if it just amplified the performance of humans? And how would that look? And in his model and Unanimous, what they're building, and some large companies and organizations are already taking advantage of this. Super exciting. In fact, the next person here, this is the last one for today, Erin Lanuti, who I just spoke to today, is the Chief Innovation Officer of Omnicom. These guys are one of the largest global advertising. They do everything from public relations, which is Erin's field, to advertise. They have so many different brands. You probably bump into them a lot. But she wants to bring a perspective on what's happening with brands and so safeguarding brand reputation in the age of AI, brand authenticity, and really cool. In fact, she lit up when I was talking to her about who else is on the roster, because she saw Lewis. She goes, "Oh my gosh, the Swarm AI guy." So it's really kind of interesting how this, the AI sort of minded people are finding each other. We're super excited to get Erin on the stage to talk about that, because it was last year, one of the greatest talks was Antonis Kokilas. And Antonis, if you're listening, you're invited back too. But Erin is going to get up and sort of represent big brands and what's happening there and how they're thinking about things. And Omnicom has some new stuff they're going to be introducing to clients in the market, I think, which is really cool.
Steve, that was incredibly insightful and valuable for our listeners to know.